There's a moment, tiny, unspoken, right before you react. You feel the blood rush, the heart kicks harder, the breath shortens. Someone says something stupid, something cruel, something disrespectful, and your body wants war. Every part of you says, snap back, prove your point, show them they're wrong. But the ancient Greeks, they knew that moment was everything, because if you react, you've already lost. Not the argument, the self. See, while the world trains you to express, vent, unleash, the Greek emperors, warriors, and philosophers trained themselves to do the opposite, to master the one internal force that controls all others, emotion. And here's what no one tells you. Emotional control doesn't mean suppressing how you feel. It means controlling how others feel because of your control. That's power. And the Greeks didn't just theorize it, they weaponized it. Let's start with this. Imagine a man sitting still while chaos erupts around him. Not passive, not numb, but alert, calm, present. Now here's the twist. That stillness, it's not natural. It's built deliberately through a forgotten method the Stoics called prohairesis. It means the power of choice inside you that no one can touch. And once you get it, once you understand how to use it, the world stops owning your reactions. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, because most people today, they're emotional puppets. One insult, one post, one sideways look, and they spiral. They argue online. They explode in traffic. They beg for validation. They think they're in control, but they're not driving. Their emotions are. So what did the Greeks do differently? They trained something deeper than discipline. They trained perception, because the man who sees clearly doesn't need to react, and the man who doesn't react terrifies those who do. Let's go deeper. So how do you get that kind of control? That Greek stillness that makes other men shake? It starts with this brutal truth. You don't control the world. You only control how you interpret it. That was the core of Stoic training. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, wrote it again and again in his journal, Meditations. Not for the world, for himself. Because even as the most powerful man on earth, he knew the battle for power always begins inside. When his generals betrayed him, when plagues tore through cities, when mobs demanded blood. He didn't lash out. He didn't beg for control. He asked one thing: what depends on me? And that question, that single radical filter, became his weapon. What depends on me? Not the insult, not their judgment, not the chaos, only my interpretation. That's not philosophy. That's tactical thinking. See, Marcus trained himself to pause between stimulus and response, to insert awareness where instinct wanted reaction. It's not passive, it's war. But the war is internal. And here's the Greek twist most people miss. They didn't try to eliminate emotions, they tried to reinterpret them. Fear, that's an alert. Anger, that's a teacher. Jealousy, that's exposure. Each emotion becomes information, not identity. You feel it, you name it, but you don't become it. That's the edge, because when everyone else is drowning in emotional noise, you become the calm center of gravity. They look at you and wonder, why isn't he reacting? Does he know something I don't? Is he more dangerous than I thought? Yes, you are, and you didn't get there by accident. You got there by doing what the emperors did, practicing the pause, controlling the frame, leading with internal order. But here's where it gets colder. What if you could go beyond stillness? What if emotional control wasn't just a shield, but a sword? Now you know the first layer. Stillness. detachment, inner awareness. But the Greeks didn't stop at defense. They turned emotional control into social warfare. See, once you stop reacting, you start watching. And when you're watching, you see everything. You see the insecurity in their jab. You see the fear behind their anger. You see the ego behind their feedback. And most importantly, you realize their outburst isn't about you. It's about their lack of control. So you do what emperors did. You say nothing. Not silence from fear, silence from dominance. Because when you stay still while others lose control, you don't just look powerful. You become untouchable. This is where the game flips. They say, "You've changed." You say, "That's possible." They say, "You're arrogant." You say, "Or maybe you're uncomfortable." They say, "You're cold." You smile and say, "Still waters run deep." No explanation, no justification. Just calm, grounded reframes that make them question their own mind. And guess what happens next? They start shrinking. They try harder. They get louder. They look unstable. You stay centered. Because power isn't in being unshakable. Power is in letting others expose their chaos against your calm. That's the Stoic judo. The Greek flip. You let their fire burn itself out, and in that ash, you rise, not emotional, not reactive, but inevitable. Let's finish this with the truth Marcus Aurelius lived by. The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. This is the Greek secret. Not to be numb, but to be unbothered by design. To turn your emotions into servants, not masters. To walk into any room knowing that no insult, no chaos, no opinion can touch the world you've built inside. And that's why emperors followed it. That's why warriors lived by it. And that's why, in a noisy world of outrage and reactivity, stillness wins.